Thank you for a straightforward answer. Andre spørgsmål? Flere spørgsmål? Der er åbnet op, ja.
I think some Muslims should get to know more about our religion, to participate in Christendom's lessons and so on. Some very faithful Muslims take their children out of the lessons.
Yes.
I think they should participate to get to know our religion.
We did it because, you know, in Islam we have to believe in all prophets of God without discrimination. You have seen me mentioning the names of Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Jacob, Aaron, David, etc. I know them by heart. I am not considered as a Muslim unless I believe in them and that they have been authorized by God and they are a noble group of people, the prophets or apostles of God. When we recite, you see that here in this mosque or within the family, we bring our children in the age of 5, 6, 7 to give them primary recitation of Quran. Open the Quran, just roughly, any page, you will find any name of these prophets about the Christianity. And don't forget that Prophet Muhammad in Medina have been in touch with the Jewish tribes. He met them. There have been a dialogue, a debate, a conversation, a discussion. Also, the Christians in Yemen, in Najran, the province of Asir, now called Asir, have been invited by Prophet Muhammad. The 3rd chapter of Quran called the Imrans, the family of Mary, a full chapter of 200 verses, documenting the meeting between Prophet Muhammad and the Christians. And he said, I come to confirm the message of Jesus and what he had told you before. So when I read it, when I teach it to my children, I expose them to Christianity and Judaism. But as you know, there is some differences. We believe that Quran have been preserved without a change in Arabic from the very beginning. And we do believe that the translation of the Bible and the Torah from different languages had lost its accuracy. It's not so accurate. That's why when you read the story of Joseph as written in Quran, compare it with the Bible, the Old Testament, you will find some references. We believe that the original copy of the Torah from God, there is no mistake at all because it came from God. But because of translation from one language to another, some changes had happened. When we teach our children about Christianity, Judaism, we teach them from the Islamic background because we believe that it is the final and the most reliable source of information. But also we tell them about what's available now, the different group of Christians and Jews and so on.
Ja, nu kommer der mange forskellige. Pas på. Først der, og så der, og så der. Ja.
Jeg synes ikke, at du svarede på det spørgsmål. Så vil jeg godt gøre opmærksom på, at kristendomsundervisningen i danske skoler ikke er forkyndende, men er en kulturhistorie. Og jeg synes, at det er katastrofalt, at børn, der flytter til et andet land, ikke må blive undervist i den kultur, der findes der. Jeg synes, det er en stor fejltagelse.
It is being argued that you didn't answer the question. I see what you are pointing at, but I actually think that Abu Laban answered the question as far as he could, because once again, he cannot be in charge of the decisions of each and every parent. So what you are asking now is for me to say and state to Abu Laban that Christianity being taught in the Danish schools, right, is non-confessional. It's part of the culture you are teaching. And you insist that the problem has not been solved by the answer. So what you are asking Abu Laban to say is actually what? Should he force the parents or should he tell them that this item is not confessional or what?
I was arguing a very specific point. Do we have a barrier, we the Muslims, between us and the Christians? I give you a proof very simply that Jesus was born in Palestine, in my own country. I should know about him. The point of your question is that do we have bad feelings about the Christians? Are we disinterested in their knowledge, in their behavior, etc.? It's no. My answer is no. And I told you because we should teach our children about Christianity, Judaism, all prophets of God, as written in Quran. What team have added is that we cannot force any parent dealing with his children in a certain matter. But from my point of view, there is no objection, Islamically speaking, for a Muslim pupil or a student, even in the university, in the faculty of theology, to attend any class in religion whatsoever. I give you another proof that Prophet Muhammad himself had made the initiative to invite the Christians from Yemen to come and meet him, and they were hosted in the same mosque, the Mosque of Medina, his own mosque in Medina. So this is my point. There is no objection in Islam for any Muslim, a young one or an old one, educated or uneducated, to communicate with the followers of any faith, to attend their classes, etc., etc. But my point is how we can deal with it. For instance, if something unpleasant would occur, disagreement, how we can do it in this time. If this certain pupil had taken some information from his family about Jesus and Moses in a different way, and the teacher is introducing in another way, now disagreement will occur. How we can sort it out? This is the real question. We have to find an answer for it from both sides.
Okay, I want to say something. If you think that I interpreted and not translated, maybe you are right in a little bit way. I will try to be very accurate then and not say anything, except try to translate. I don't think you are quite right, but anyway. Indtil derovre ved siden af mig der. Det var det samme. Så skulle vi herover.
Det var meget.
Jamen så er det dig, så det det spurgte. Og så det og der. Kom.
Når du nu har lovet at oversætte direkte, så tør jeg godt. Jeg har været lærer her på Vesterbro i 22 år. Og jeg har i øjeblikket 100% fremmedsprogede elever og har haft det i 3 år i min klasse. Og en del af de elever kommer her i de forskellige 3 moskéer mange gange i løbet af ugen. Vil du oversætte nu?
Okay. Lady is telling you that she's been teaching here for many years. And 22 years. And she is teaching a lot of immigrant pupils, up to 100% even, and quite a few of them are coming here in one of the 3 Master's mosques.
Jeg har igennem alle årene oplevet, at alle familierne havde en meget stærk tilknytning til moskéerne. Og min egen opfattelse er, at jeg har søgt at styrke deres identitet og deres sprog og deres kulturbaggrund så meget, jeg har kunnet som dansk lærer. Fordi jeg har ment, at det har givet styrke til at rette sig ud af mod det danske samfund.
During the years I have experienced that their affiliation to these places, to the tradition, has been very strong. I have done my best to enforce this affiliation. I think that it's something helpful for them to be strong in their own tradition.
Og jeg synes, at mange af de initiativer har båret frugt igennem årene. Men jeg må sige, at jeg har engang imellem været nødt til at fraråde dem. For eksempel at gå i moskéen 4 gange om ugen. Fordi jeg har oplevet, at mange små elever faktisk har en skoledag fra 8 til 6, og så hjemmearbejde fra 6 til de skal i seng om aftenen. Og det har de ikke kunnet bære. Så jeg har været nødt til at sige, nøjes med at gå i moskéen 2 dage i stedet for 4 dage. Jeg kunne godt tænke mig for det første at høre din reaktion, når du får det at vide, at danske lærere siger sådan. Hvordan reagerer du over for forældrene, over for eleven? Og den anden ting, jeg kunne tænke mig at høre, det er, hvordan får vi formaliseret et samarbejde mellem skolevæsenet og moskéerne? Fordi så vidt jeg kan se, at det er den eneste måde, vi kan samarbejde om familierne på, når vi deler dem. Vi skulle nødt være fjender, vi skulle helst være venner og arbejde træk på samme hammel. 2 ting.
While I have mostly tried to help this affiliation, I have also had to tell my pupils, who often went to the masjid 4 times a week and who had a lot of time engaged in that, a lot of power, also had to tell them to maybe cut down. It could be a good idea to go only twice a week in order to have time for things different. Now, I should like to ask you then, how do you think about that recommendation? And also, secondly, how can we establish the cooperation between the imams, the masjids, and the schools in order to ensure that we are not going in different directions?
Okay. First of all, as you know, a Friday sermon is an obligation in Islam. It's clear for you because Christians used to attend on Sundays, Jews on Saturdays. And it's very important. It's a weekly review. If you have a clever, qualified imam, it means he's the person who is trying to investigate, to compile information, to know what's happening in the surroundings, and then summarize and put a very fruitful and efficient speech. I feel it's very important. But again, the characteristic of Islam is easiness. We used to advise students and people in job that they can perform Friday sermon in their job in a pause of 15 minutes to be symbolic to some extent. If we have a group of 7, 9, 10 employees in a certain factory or department or pupils, they can have a small place. One will stand as an imam. A speech would take 3 minutes to recite a verse from Quran and some explanations from the Prophet, just to give spiritual enlightenment, and then he can lead the prayer. The prayer would take exactly on Friday not more than 4 or 5 minutes. So for practical reasons, this is my typical advice for those who are engaged in education or in job, not to disturb the situation. But in the same time, I feel it's very helpful because we are trying in this small place to do a serious job, as I have mentioned before, concerning the Western Islamic communication, how to be efficient and more productive for the future. This is number one. The second point, I think, if you take the initiative from your side, in some program, if the majority of the pupils are from Pakistan, we can make a contact with a Pakistani imam in a certain evening, afternoon. We invite him to talk to the people. Now the school is intervening between the imam and his folk, the Muslim pupils and their families. And then there is some sort of cooperation that we are thinking about the same objective, the development of the children from spiritual, cultural, educational and scientific, all at the same time. If you do this initiative, I think a lot of imams will be glad to come, and under the umbrella of the school, the imam will do his job, and now question will be put, Muslims, parents, teachers, the staff, the pupils, whatever you like, and all these kind of problems will be put forward, and we can find a good solution to them. This is one of the proposals I feel with the available capacity we can do it. It does not need a lot of thinking or planning. An immediate and simple solution, if you like it.
Thank you.
I think the ladies in the far corner. Yes.
Right. Now, I'd like to know if the Quran has been translated into the languages of believers in different countries. I mean, can the people of Pakistan, Kurdistan, Morocco, Egypt read the Quran in their own languages?
Yes. God has written the Quran, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra. It means the book has been revealed by God. Wa inna lahu lahafizun. It will be preserved by Him, capital H, I-M, by God, Allah. Quran shouldn't be translated to any language. The meanings can be translated. If you can see, it has been translated, the meanings of Quran. Quran should be recited in Arabic. I mean, for instance, if I have a problem, legal problem, I must read Danish law in the original language as written by Danish people, Danish lawyer, and Danish politicians, and so on. Quran, to be preserved away of any corruption or change, are not permitted, the context itself are not permitted to be translated in any language. But the meanings, we make it available in French, we have a 3 translation, in English we have about 6, in German, etc., etc. What about a non-Arabic speaking Muslim? You could imagine there is a barrier. How can he enjoy recitation of Quran and understanding of Quran? For a practical reason, when we pray, we have to recite the first chapter. It's called Al-Fatiha, the opening. It is give a complete evaluation about the role of a human being on this earth from the divine instruction of Allah. 7 verses we recited during prayer. Every Muslim, young or old, he is not, his prayers are not accepted, is not valid unless he recites these 7 verses in Arabic. I think practically speaking, it's very easy for everybody anywhere to recite these 7 verses. If he likes to memorize more and to educate more, he has the opportunity. And let me tell you one single example. The spread of Islam have been accompanied by the spread of Arabic. The people in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Egypt had dropped and quitted their original languages, are speaking Arabic now absolutely from Morocco to Syria. Other countries like Pakistan, Urdu, if you read the vocabulary, about 1/3 or more of the vocabulary in Urdu have been brought from Islam, expressions, terms, etc., etc. Swahili, the same in Eastern Africa. Persian had absorbed a lot, and I was in Nigeria. The Hausa language of the civilization there in Western Africa also have been influenced by Arabic language. It's no surprise, because in our countries, television, I say television in my own language. In many Muslim countries, we are using French expressions, Italian, if the country have been occupied by Italy, Spanish, like in Philippines, and so on. So, I mean, don't feel it's so difficult, because a mastering language will influence civilization and influence the way people are speaking, and if they feel that this language is strong enough, it can fulfill their needs, they can absorb, they can take these terms. So, very simply, the Arabic language as the language of Quran had influenced these countries, and those who are really serious Muslims, they like to know more about Arabic, to taste Quran and to understand Quran immediately. Otherwise, they can read the translation of the meanings of Quran. And in many locations, Quran, God had said, Quran was revealed in a clear tongue in Arabic, and Arabic have been left to be the language of the last book of Allah, of God, the Quran.
I was surprised to learn that Muslims get the series of Darwin, but I believe that the Quran will encourage the seeking of wisdom, and thereby, I think, scientific studies. So, is it not possible to be a Muslim and believe in the theory of evolution, in your opinion?
Yes. I think a lot of states in USA had got a verdict from courts that Darwinism is unscientific. And they said we cannot teach our children nonsense. I remember just last year, a very big book have been published in Britain called The Fall of Darwinism. It's a theory. We always say the theory of Darwinism. It's not a fact, it's a theory. Some people are trying to prove this theory. It had received a very tough criticism from Christians as believers, from Muslims, and so on. We believe in the capacity of God, the power to create everything. Evolution is a way to escape from this point. We don't like to think about the existence of God. So we are trying to produce something else, nature, evolution. Even as I told you, if a human being have been evolved from apes or chimpanzee or monkey, who had created the monkey? The monkey was a fish in the sea. Who had created the fish? The first cell. Who had created the first cell? Again, we go to the original question. Who had created the whole universe? So we believe, as written in Quran, that men and women have been created originally. The beginning was Adam and Eve, as especially made by God, by Allah, to have a certain mission on this earth. I think it's more interesting to feel proud that we have been created by the will of God and wisdom and knowledge to do a certain role in earth, We don't like to be like animals. We are superior to animals. We are the producers of civilization on earth, and everything have been made subservient to us by the will of God, Allah. Do you have any comment?
Yes. I may introduce myself. My name is Amina. I'm a Norwegian Muslim, and I will speak English because my Norwegian sometimes make misunderstanding. But I think it's important to see that the evolution is recognized as a fact. We believe from the creation in the mother womb that it's some kind of evolution until the child will be delivered. So we recognize that evolution is a scientific fact, but everyone knows that the missing link, this being a fact which has been stated by the scientists here in the West, that we don't believe the origin comes from this evolution in some kind of science which we will, submit to. We believe that the creation started from Allah, the Creator. And I think it's important to know that it doesn't close the door of the scientific researches, that you will find in all kind of science this fact of evolution. And we also recognize this as a Muslims.
I'm so thankful to this support, but as I told you, because of time limitation, I try to get right to the real point. Why? Why? Because it has been debated for a long time in all academies, congregations, scientific congregations, in schools, by scientists about the validity of the theory. Up to this moment, it's a theory, it's not a fact. We are trying to get evidences to support this theory. So I tell you from, as we have agreed in the beginning, to be frank with each other, this is my impression. The people who are really interested in Darwinism, because they are not interested to believe in God. This is the main reason. If they believe that God had the capacity and power to create everything, so it's very simple. There is no need to spend millions of dollars in researches and go to dig in mountains and to speak about the Iceman and the man of Kenya and the man of China and to write books, etc. We can give this money to the poor people, it's better. We can fill their stomach and we show humanitarian feelings in a proper way. This is my impression as a Muslim.
I want to mention for one point about Freud. Freud, he gave a phenomenon, not theory. A big difference between phenomenon and theory. Theory is proof, and phenomenon is not proof.
You know, I feel that we have here a very nice group of teachers, and they used to teach science and physics and chemistry. I would like to relieve them to have a different atmosphere to speak about religion, about God, about the Quran and so on. Because if we go to science, it needs hours and hours to be really serious people about this point.
During the last year, we have had a big political discussion about the mother tongue education, because our minister, Bertel Haarder, he really wants to take it away.
Yes.
Most of the Danish teachers don't want to take it away, because we know that the mother tongue is very important to the identity for the immigrant people, or for all people, of course. But at the same time, we realized that the content in this mother tongue education may have a reform. It's too bad. It's a content which points back and not forward. It's content where the children, they learn about a country and a culture they don't know, a country they never return to, etc., etc. So just now we we have plans of putting a new content in this mother tongue education, a content which is pointing forward. And just now we have no plans for this education, and the minister will try to make some plans now. Could we make a cooperation with the imams about this new content in the mother tongue education?
It's a very pure technical point. I think I was working with the Islamic Arabic school in some advisory level for a period of time. We have come across this problem, the bilingual education and so on. I think it is subjected to researches for academics to observe. I mean, to take a specimen like you do in education a full research about the development children from strong committed Muslim families, children from other less committed Muslim families, Muslims from Pakistan who speaks Urdu, not Arabic, the language of Quran, and so on. And we observe, we make our research. I think it's pure scientific, and this is what I have mentioned, that God, Allah, had left for us a lot of area to use our capacities. We are no robots. And in this particular area, I feel that the imams cannot be of great help, because academics, researchers, people who are specialists in education of languages, the development of the child in speaking, in writing, in different capacities, dictation and so on, they should give the answer. Muslims can be in the secondary level to give advice wherever needed, but the initiative, I think, should be done by Western academics. As far as they feel that it's very important, and this is what you have mentioned yourself, an immigrant has two possibilities. The first one, like USA, America, the new land, to assimilate in the society, to drop his background completely. The people who went from Germany, Italy to USA or to Northern America now, they are of a homogeneous society, okay? So they have quitted everything of their background. They are speaking one language, the English or the American English, and so on. The second possibility is to adjust yourself, otherwise you will suffer. How to balance yourself between the available and present culture and your background. Such kind of question should be asked by every individual, and an answer should be given at the same time. Otherwise, that's why we have some immigrants here who are speaking from different Muslim countries within the family also Danish with their children, and some couldn't afford to do that. Still, they are committed. They have the dream to go back to their home country and to settle there after a certain period of time. And it's difficult for them as human beings to get rid of their background and their language. And this kind of people are really the area of our research and our investigation.
Ja, jeg har et meget konkret spørgsmål. Ikke helt fra dagligdagen, men i forbindelse med en erfaring, mine kollegaer og jeg har gjort med en hyttetur, hvor vi har haft alle vores muslimske elever med, så har vi selvfølgelig også haft kød med fra en halalbutik. Men der var noget, vi ikke havde med fra en halalbutik. Det var kyllingerne. De var dybfrosne fra Brugsen, for der var nemlig sådan et stempel på. Og så kom problemet, for en af vores drenge ville ikke spise de kyllinger, han sagde. Dem må han altså ikke spise. Og det kunne vi jo ikke forstå, for nu synes vi havde gjort det så godt. Så vil jeg gerne høre, hvad er der i vejen med kyllingerne fra Brugsen?
Okay. What's wrong with the chickens from Brugsen?
It's a headache for me every Friday. A group of people will put the same question. We are new in the country, we are confused. What about the stamp of the Islamic Culture Center and so on? Very simply, they said theoretically that it is supervised and produced according to Islamic rules. Practically speaking, when you go to slaughtering house, you will find that there is no supervision. So Muslims started to suspect. We have made different meetings with the exporters here in Denmark, with the managers of slaughtering house.